In this video, I'm going to show you how you can install a custom variable to your Google Analytics so it captures the timestamp when the interaction, for example, a page view or an event, actually happened. So you can use that to match it up with any third-party tracking system. Hi there, and welcome to another video of measureschool.com, where we teach you the data-driven way of digital marketing. My name is Julian, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can install a custom variable to your Google Analytics and capture the timestamp when an interaction actually happened. And if you want to follow along or want to try out these variables that we're going to discover, then head over to measureschool.com/timestamp, where you can download a handy template that you can actually upload to your Google Tag Manager account to use it right away. We got lots to cover, so let's dive in. So have you ever tried to determine when an event exactly happened within Google Analytics? You can use a date picker in a sense that you could go to the date and you will get a rough estimation how many events happened, or if you go to 1 day at least, you have a rough estimation of the time when it happened, but only on an hourly basis. So that doesn't do us any good. If we want to match this data up with a third-party system, we would have to get more accurate information when the hit or the data was sent into Google Analytics exactly. Unfortunately, by default, Google Analytics doesn't give us this information, but with the help of Google Tag Manager, we can send in a custom dimension to capture the timestamp of the interaction. How would this look like? I have something prepared here. You see here we have an event, the add to cart click, and we have a timestamp dimension, which gives us the exact timestamp when the interaction happened, plus the offset of the time zone that might be affecting the time, as opposed to the time zone that you might have in your backend system. Hugely valuable if you want to match up, for example, transactions with transactions that you might have in your backend system. So let's install this with the help of Google Tag Manager. First of all, we would need to have a way to pull this time from the user's browser once he visits the site and interacts with the page. And we can do this through JavaScript. And I found a script that we can use to pull the time information plus the time zone offset right from JavaScript. So we can copy this. And since this is JavaScript, we can go into our Google Tag Manager and build a custom variable out of this. So let's click on variables here and then scroll down to new. And this will be a custom JavaScript variable. So we'll also put this into name, custom JavaScript variable, and it will represent the timestamp. Then we enter our custom JavaScript here. And let's try this all out. Let's create our variable. And just for test purposes, I have an event here installed, but also a transaction and a page view. So let's go into the preview and debug mode and see if our variable functions well. Let's reload our page here. And we get our preview and debug mode. Then we can go into the variables and click on any event. And we see our JS timestamp shows us the correct time of our system plus the time zone offset. I'm currently in Berlin, so this is +2 hours UTC and the correct time including the seconds. So if I go to one of the next events that happened in a later second, we see that this changes as well. And of course, if I click on any other link here and go to the next page, this value should have changed as well. Yes, we see the time change here. So we can use this for sending this information to Google Analytics. Now, how would we do this? There are different ways of doing this, but if you want to track the timestamp not only in events, but also in page views and in transactions, then it would be actually advisable to use custom dimensions to extend whatever hit we send over and have that extra information available. What do we need to do to send this over? Well, first of all, we would need to configure Google Analytics. Let's go over to Google Analytics. Under the admin section, you would have under your property settings the custom definitions. And here we have custom dimensions. So let's click on that. And you can click then on new custom dimension. As a name, we'll enter timestamp. The scope we'll choose hit because we want to attach this actually to the actual data point that comes into Google Analytics, which in the smallest form is the hit. We don't want to attach this to sessions and users or product information. And the active button is already ticked, and then we can create. I've already done this, so I already have a custom dimension. Once you do this, you see a little overview screen just like this. And all we need to remember here is the dimension number. We have here dimension number 1. This is number 1. So just remember your number. If you have already custom dimensions installed, your number is probably higher. And then we can go over to Google Tag Manager and actually implement this as a custom dimension. Now, where do you want to do this? You can actually do this in any kind of GA event or hit that you send over to the system. So for example, for page views, we could go into our page view tag, go into the configurations of our page view tag, scroll down. Under more settings, we have the custom dimension option, and we can add a custom dimension. Now we need to put in the index, and this is the number that we have remembered from our installation before. We put in 1, and then the dimension value. And the dimension value is the actual value that we want to send over to Google Analytics. In our case, this would be the timestamp, and we want to have it dynamically filled with the time that the user generated this page view. So we click here on the plus sign, which will show us all our variables, and we can implement our custom JavaScript variable with the timestamp. All right, that should be it. We have everything prepared. This is all fine. And we can refresh our preview and debug mode and go back to our page and just refresh our page. Now our page view tag fired, as we can see here. We can actually look into it by clicking into it, and we see that there was a dimension sent over with this information. We could also look this up in our tag assistant up here when we click on the Google Analytics page view tag and see the page view tag was requested, and there are custom metrics as well being sent over, which is the custom dimension number 1 with this value. Unfortunately, we will not be able to see this information or this rich information in the real-time reporting. We will see the actual page view probably. Page view already happened, but not the information, the custom dimension that was attached to this. So this would be seen under your page views, for example. In the behavior report, we could go to site content. We would see all the pages that were visited, and we could choose as a secondary dimension our timestamp. And then we have the information available when the user actually hit that page. Now for page views, this is maybe less useful, but really useful it is for example, events or transactions. How would we install our custom dimension for these interactions? Well, we just click on it, go into the tag, and again, enter our custom dimension in the more settings. Let's do the same for the transactions. And we should be all good. Now let's refresh this and go back to our page and actually trigger these events. So our first event was, let's reload this first, a add to cart click, which is this button down here. So we can click that. I'll press the command key so it opens up in a new tab. And we see something was added to the cart, and an GA event add to cart was clicked, and the dimension value with our timestamp was sent over as well. And the same would probably be the case once I go through and do an actual transaction. we land on our thank you page, and Google Analytics received our transaction information again with our custom dimension number 1 and the timestamp. So this data was sent over to Google Analytics and it's been received, and you can see the data now either as a secondary dimension or in a custom report. Just to show you what this would look like, so for events, we could go into the events here and choose our add to carts. And then as a secondary dimension, we just put in our name of our custom dimension, the timestamp. And we get the exact time when this action occurred. And the same for our transactions. We would go down here to the conversions, and we have our e-commerce tracking activated, which is under sales performance, should show us all our sales. Unfortunately, there's not yet anything recorded. This always takes a little bit of time, between half an hour and 48 hours. So we would need to be patient to actually see the data. But in the end, we could, for example, match up our transactions correctly to our backend system with the correct timestamp when they happened. If you're satisfied with your implementation in the end, you can publish this as a version to all our users. Alright, that's it with this week's video of measureschool.com. If you want to try out the timestamp variable, then head over to measureschool.com/timestamp and we'll give you a handy template that you can upload into your Google Tag Manager account so you can try it out right away. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube at least. And if you want to see more of these videos every week, we bring out a new video on Thursdays. So hit that subscribe button as well. My name is Julian. Till next time.